Just look at that smug face. Just look at it.
The these primary elections and what the DNC is doing to essentially suppress the will of the people, in my view, by outright not allowing certain people to run when they should have been previously, or most recently, the story came out that New Hampshire, which should be going first, is being forced into not being able to go first, or that the results are not going to be considered. I just wanted to get your opinion because I feel like that's a very important thing that a lot of people are not really giving enough attention to.
Jared,
it gives
who
into
isn't
the
being,
narrative.
who isn't being allowed to run? That part I didn't hear.
So not that...
Take note of the way that David Pakman is pretending like he doesn't know what this guy's talking about. He wouldn't do this talking about January 6th. He wouldn't do this talking about the last election. So why is he doing it now? You think if someone mentioned something about January 6th, about somebody breaking through the windows or the protesters attacking the police, you think he would be like, what was this? You said something about the police being attacked? What? He's a political commentator. He's very smart. He knows exactly what this guy's talking about. And this is a very big issue, that the Democrats are rigging the elections, going against the will of the people. David Pakman will pretend like, oh, I would love primaries, right? Well, they're making sure that they don't really have primaries. And David Pakman is just bending over, oh, well, here's what it is. Doesn't have that attitude about January 6th, doesn't have that attitude about the last election, right? It is what it is. The people were upset. They thought the election was stolen, so, they went and they did some things. I don't hear that argument from David Pakman on that, right? On the last election, oh, well, people just felt like, why is he doing it now? The minute that this guy mentions this, David Pakman should have been all over it, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, the primaries. What they're doing is wrong. I don't stand for it. It's anti-democratic. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's absolutely wrong. And you're correct. The Democrats are rigging the elections. But you can't say that kind of stuff when you're a Democratic apologist, when you are a liberal propagandist. And that is what David Pakman is. You got to dance around and play games, unlike you would for issues where you're on the right side. When David Pakman's on the right side, he will lean in and he'll talk about the issues. He'll talk about the substance. When he's on the wrong side, he plays games.
If you have an incumbent president and they say I'm running for re-election, make them win the primary again. That's my preference, right? That's never the way it works, and it's not unique to the Democratic Party. In 2020...
That's never the way it works. This guy's very intelligent. And he's going to make an argument. And you got to think about this for a second. This is the same stuff with people regarding the Gaza situation, right? The people who are on the pro-Israel side usually don't like to make an argument. They like to play games and call names, right? You're an anti-Semitist, you support Hamas, right? They want to play those games. This is all evidence of people who don't themselves believe in their position. They believe they have a bad position, they're wrong side of things, so they got to play games, right? David Pakman, rather than defending what's happening or talking about the substance of what's happening, he wants to say, oh, it's always been like this. So because it's always been like this, then it's fine. So if slavery was still a thing, right, and this guy calls in and slavery is bad, right, David Pakman responded and said, listen, this is not unique to the Democratic Party. The Republicans have slaves as well. And slavery has been around for quite a while, sir. It's been around for quite a while. We've had slavery for quite a while. It's nothing new. That's his argument? You don't talk about the substance of what's wrong with having people as slaves? You just want to talk about like, oh, it's normal. We've always done this. Because you've done a thing for a while, that makes it a good thing? That's a response to someone critiquing the thing, is to say that it's always been this way? What? He doesn't make this kind of argument about January 6th. He doesn't make this kind of argument about the last election. So why is he doing it now? Pretending he doesn't know what you're talking about, and now he's talking about, oh, this is normal. What?
It was the same thing with Donald Trump. Now, we don't have to be as bad as the Republicans. Fine, no, but the point here is a different one. The point here is political parties have assessed that the best way to win an election, if you have an incumbent, is to stick with that incumbent. Now, are they right about that? I think they probably.
So, I am going to make a defense of all of the election rigging that Donald Trump has done, right? The playing games and, before the election is even done, saying that they're going to steal the election and all the tricks that he did, right? I'm going to defend him and say that this is effective. It works. What Donald Trump is doing, this works, right? And it's not the first time the Republicans have done it. They've done it before. This is not special. What Donald Trump is doing is not special. They've always done this stuff, and it's effective, right? It's an effective fear-mongering technique that can galvanize your base. They do it because it works, and it's not unusual that Trump is doing it. That's the argument that he's making. That's me defending Trump using the same logic and rhetoric that David Pakman is using. Why is he resorting to the pretzels right now?
Probably are in most cases, but maybe not all. But there's really nothing special going on here. And that's the thing. I think it's fine to be critical of the fact that this is the way it works when you have an incumbent. Totally fine thing to say. But there's nothing special going on. When you have an incumbent, both parties...
Notice he keeps making this argument there's nothing special. Why is that relevant? Right? Some group wants to have slaves. People have always had slaves for the last 100 years. Nothing special going on here. Why are you here getting all upset talking about we should abolish slavery? Why are you getting mad that we're doing slavery? They're doing slavery. We've done slavery for quite a while. Nothing special here. Nothing special. What kind of argument is that? David Pakman doesn't want to talk about the substance, about how this is so anti-democratic, right? He doesn't want to simply admit this is wrong what they're doing. And what they're doing is one of the reasons why we are in the situation that we're in this country, right? They rigged the election, so it's this duopoly, Democrat-Republican, Democrat-Republican. As long as your voters are more afraid of the other party than they are of you, you can do whatever you want and get away with it. And they'll keep re-electing you. The way to defeat this problem is to introduce another party, another option. Competition is good. So what the Democrats are doing is anti-democratic. It's hurting us. And rather than calling it out, and rather than being honest, David Pakman chooses to be an apologist for the Democratic Party and play the whataboutism game, right? He will call out accurately the right for the whataboutism view regarding January 6th. They don't want to talk about January 6th. They want to talk about the summer of love, right? He will call them out, as he should. Yet here he is doing the same thing. Doesn't want to talk about the substance of what the Democrats are doing. He wants to say, oh, they do it too. And this is normal. Right.
With this way, there's no real primary.
Okay. My question then, I guess, would be, should we, when we hear the other side, Republicans or Trump even say that Democrats are suppressing the will of the people, that they're taking away their options, they're rigging things, by looking at things through that lens and looking at this is basically evidence for that if they wanted to use it in that sense.
No,
so I just feel like
I think it's very important. I think
play.
it's really important. Again, I would love a primary every single time, but I think it's dangerous to say that when a political party doesn't hold a primary because they have an incumbent, it's the same type of rigging that has been accused over the last 4 years that includes vote dumps, manipulation of different...
I don't think the guy said that it's the same kind of rigging, just that it is rigging, right? If I go and I kill 2 people, it's not the same thing as being a serial killer and killing 10, but it's still murder, right? It's still a serious, serious crime, right? What the Democrats are doing is absolutely not what the Republicans have been doing, but it's not a competition. What the Democrats are doing is the same kind of thing in terms of dishonest, corrupt, and anti-democratic. The fact that it's not on the same level of corruption, irrelevant. It's not a competition. Wrong is wrong. Killing 2 people is wrong. Killing 10 is wrong. I don't want to stay focused on which one is worse. I want both to not happen. This is one of the big problems that we have with our politics and our media, the lack of consistency, right? When I see corruption, I call it out, right? No emotions, right? No tribalism. I don't care about the tribes. Corruption is corruption. I don't call it out aggressively when one does it, and then when the other does it, I do it just, if I get cornered, just the honorable mention. No. If one side does some corruption, you shouldn't be more aggressive in calling that out than when the other is. Right? You shouldn't be making one type of argument when the right looks bad. You lean in, you're very visceral, very detailed, right? You stand up, make your point. And then when your side does something corrupt, it's, I would like a primary. His comment about him liking a primary is on the same level of, well, this is a Biden guy. Let him tell it he's not, right? But it's on the same level of Joe Biden's response to the protesters about the Gaza situation. He responds and says he's quietly, I don't know his exact words, something like he's quietly working behind the scenes with Israel. Like, he has a rhetoric of, we would like them to not, do what they're doing. But he's really not making much of an effort to see that that's the reality, right? He's just saying it like, we want them to consider such and such. And then they're overtly not. And there's barely a whisper coming from the administration. So your words are meaningless. Just like David Pakman's words about, I'd love a primary. Meaningless. You'd like a primary, but yet you are not aggressively calling out the destruction of that process. You're making excuses for them. Those words are meaningless. When he says he'd like a primary, meaningless. He says being as meaningless as Biden on, I'm quietly working behind the scenes. We want them to not go too far after they've already gone too far. Right? This is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.